Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Chikako Eickbush on the line, and she's owner and CEO over at Torino Ramen. Chikako, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So excited to have you on the line today. I was talking to, I had Angelos on the show the other day. He told me about you and your story, and we were talking about you in his episode, and I was like, wait a minute, you got to get me Chikako on the line. I want to hear more. I got to hear more of her story. So just to start out with, before we go into Torino Ramen, because I want to talk more about your restaurant, but just to start out, let's talk a little bit more about your story. How did you get started in the restaurant business and in your career?
Actually, I grew up in Tokyo, Japan, and my parents had owned 4 or 5 restaurants. So I guess my blood was there already. But interestingly, I did not want to be in the restaurant business growing up because I knew how hard it is to keep the restaurants up running. And so it's kind of interesting that I'm here where I am. I was in Japan, and then fast forward a little bit, and then I'm now in Chicago, married, my husband, American, and I got 5 kids. And so coming from Japan, I want to make sure that, my kids know my culture, and obviously food is one. So as I'm here in the United States, trying to share my heritage with my kids, food is absolutely something that we enjoy at home. And so it kind of inspired me. At some point, I really want to introduce this to, our other people, because to me, a lot of food that they say that is Japanese is really not Japanese. I'm not saying that all the restaurants are that way, but all the Japanese restaurants are that way. But I feel like, okay, I'm going to do something so that, people would totally enjoy the real taste of Japan. And also, I've always loved, businesses. And I did a lot of different consulting. And so anyway, I wanted to do something as my kids got older. So ramen was something that became kind of popular in 2013, 14, 15, around then. I was busy with, my little children. But I also knew that ramen had to be something that's going to be really, really popular in the States. So I decided to kind of go around tasting what other ramen restaurants are offering, and they tasted horrible, at least the places that I went to. So I went home and I kind of did some research, and guess what? I said, I'm just going to try to just kind of get come up with a good recipe for a good bowl of ramen so that my kids can enjoy. I had different Japanese mom friends, and so I kind of got a group together, and we kind of did some research, and we started tasting, making some samples, and one day we just came up with this great recipe. The broth just tasted just so divine, and that's the moment when I felt like, okay, we got to do something about this. So despite my experience in Japan with my family, with the restaurant business and whatnot, I just said, let's just do it. So that was
you were sucked back in. You were dragged back in. You thought you could get it. You thought you could get away from it, and it brought you right back.
Exactly. Yep. So that was 2015. Bob Kamaki, I should mention his name because I would be here if I didn't meet him. He said, go talk to my friend Sean Hoffer in Northfield. He is the owner of Hoffer Meat Company. Because they not only have good meat, but they also have a good venue that you could probably do a pop-up. So I said that's great because having a brick and mortar is from the start is really hard and really risky. So pop-up is something that just really made sense at the time in my life. So I meet Bob, I meet with Sean, and we all clicked and let's just do it. So we decided to do with other partners of mine, just do a ramen pop-up. So we did it like once a month event for about a year, and it was a pre-sale event, and we could probably serve maybe like 60 people, that's it. But the tickets, once they go live, the tickets were sold within 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, like every and then like 5 times in, pretty much most of them are returners. And so we couldn't even have spots for newcomers. So, that was a really, really good pilot program for me to do. Obviously, it was a popular one. Everybody enjoyed it. And we also learned what to expect, with the recipe, how to serve, pricing and all that. And so for that 1 year, it was a really, really good try run that we did. And then, toward the end of the pop-up days, we just kind of realized, we got to do more than once a month, and we got to do something. We need a kitchen. We need this and that. So that's when I decided I'm just going to look for a place that we can have a restaurant at, and then serve this good broth of ramen. And so I found a place in Wilmette, downtown Wilmette, and that's where we are right now. So we opened our restaurant in 2015, and not 2017. I'm sorry, 2017, and this is 2020. So we just marked our third. We're going into the fourth year.
Well, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. What an amazing story. I love this. And one of the things, so I looked at your website, and obviously I did my research on you in the business before I got on the line. And what I laughed about, and it was just so cute to me, is it says, we just wanted to create a good bowl of ramen for our children. and now that I hear the rest of the story, it's like, oh, man, I'm all the way in California, but I want to taste this too. And I told Angelique, I was like, man, I don't know, because he ranted and raved about how good your food was, and I'm like, I'm gonna get her on the show, and then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be hungry and I'm gonna want some food, but you're way too far. It was so funny. I was telling him, I'm like, I'm just gonna be really hungry after this interview, but it's okay because I have to hear the story.
Yes, it's actually, I wish you could taste it too. But I was talking to Angeli, and he really thinks that we should promote our flavor, even in California. So maybe that's another vision and goal that I may have for the future.
Well, when I see how systematic, a couple of things that I just love from the business perspective, and I love the pop-up model, is that sometimes with restaurants or restaurant concepts, people create a concept, they put it out, and they expect, they don't necessarily have that built-in demand for it, but you had built-in demand by doing the repeat events and by doing and seeing some of the repeat customers. You're like, you could envision that these could be our customer base that are going to come to the restaurant and eat maybe regularly, once a week or once every other week or whatever, but these could be our loyal, our loyal purveyors, if you will. And I'm like, wow, what an interesting way to do it, and it just made sense. So it takes just a little bit of the edge of that risk off, because you've got to do the trial and error without it being the real customer or the real dining experience in your own branded restaurant at that moment, where if you get it wrong there, they may not come back. So now you had your system done ahead of time. Right.
So it was good. It was good to do that.
I love it. So Chikako, if somebody's listening to this, final question. So if somebody's listening to this and they are in the Chicago area, can you tell them what's the best way to reach out? What's the address of the restaurant and all that good stuff, please?
Yes, the website is the best one. It's www.torinoramen.com. That has all the information you need. We're located in the North Shore suburb of Chicago. So if anybody's in town in Chicago, we're probably like 30 minutes up north in a beautiful suburb. You wouldn't think that there's a good Japanese ramen there. So it's like a hidden.
You wouldn't think you were going to North Chicago suburb to get the real thing. I love this story.
And I really think it's a hidden jewel in Chicago. We really think that if you have time, I would just drive up north for the real authentic ramen.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. And I have a big listener base in Chicago and the city and otherwise, a bunch of financial people that listen to this show. So I'm sure there's going to be some people making that trek, and I'm going to be jealous because I'm probably going to get some emails bragging about it. So thank all of you for that. Well, Chicago, it's really, I know you're getting ready for the rush right now that's about to come in. I know you too. So that being said, just want to say thank you again for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for sharing your story with me and my audience. And to the listeners, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there and leave us some comments. Love to know what kind of projects you're working on. And Chikako, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.